At the beginning of the story, we see Mallory driving through a deserted desert area. She is actually engaged and set to get married in a few days, but there's some tension between her and her fiancé. Because of this, she's not very happy about the wedding. Still, she had to travel to a nearby city for the wedding preparations. On the way, her sister Ella video calls her. She tells Mallory that she hasn't booked a flight to attend the wedding yet because she wants Mallory to decide if she's truly happy with the marriage. Mallory smiles a little and says yes, she is happy. Mallory continues driving on the lonely roads and after a while takes a shortcut. The road is good and it's the fastest way to reach the city. She plays some music and enjoys the drive, but after going a long distance, the car suddenly stops in the middle of the road. She gets out, checks the engine, and tries to restart it, but nothing happens. She realizes she's now stuck, and her phone also has no signal. She sits in the car for a while, wishing someone would show up to help her. Then as she opens an energy drink, the can bursts and her shirt gets ruined. She goes to the back of the car to change her clothes. Suddenly, a boy shows up which scares her, but the boy is polite and introduces himself as Christian. Hearing his calm voice, Mallory relaxes a bit, thinking at least someone is here to help her. Christian tries to fix her car. Meanwhile, Mallory starts to feel uneasy because Christian is a stranger. She becomes uncomfortable. However, after some effort, he manages to fix the car. Mallory is impressed by his help and offers him money to thank him. But Christian refuses and tells her to drive safely. As Mallory starts to drive away, she realizes that Christian helped her so much. And now he's walking. So out of basic humanity, she decides to give him a lift. Now they begin traveling together and talk as they drive. Although Christian is a stranger, he speaks nicely and tries to show that he's a decent guy. Listening to him, Mallory also opens up and shares that she's getting married in a few days and is going to the city for wedding preparations. During the ride, Christian starts flirting with her. Mallory ignores it, but over time, his behavior becomes strange. He says that fate brought them together and maybe this was meant to happen. Then he starts making inappropriate comments and Mallory realizes he is not as decent as he seemed. She feels unsafe and stops the car, telling him that it's enough and he should get out. But Christian's intentions were already bad. He pulls out a knife and threatens her, saying that if she doesn't do as he says, the consequences will be very serious. He orders her to drive quietly and not to shout. Out of fear, Mallory starts driving. She asks him why he's doing this. He replies that she should have left right after he fixed the car. Why did she give him a lift? He says he has started liking her a lot and insists she come with him to a nearby house where they'll spend the night together. Mallory is terrified. Then she notices Christian isn't wearing a seatbelt and a sharp turn is coming up. She suddenly speeds up and deliberately drives the car off the road into a ditch at the turn. Now we see Mallory hanging upside down in the car. One of her legs is badly stuck in the seat and she can't move. On the other hand, Christian was thrown out of the car and became unconscious because he wasn't wearing a seatbelt. But Mallory's condition was worse. She tried hard to pull her leg out, but it was stuck badly in the seat, making it impossible to free. Then she noticed Christian's knife lying nearby. Before he could regain consciousness, Mallory struggled and managed to grab the knife. As soon as Christian came to his senses, Mallory quickly hid the knife. Christian saw that one of Mallory's legs was trapped and she couldn't get out without help. He smiled and said, "If you can get out, then do it yourself. I won't help you." Then he left her hanging upside down in the car and walked away. Mallory pleaded with him. But he didn't listen. She had no way to escape. She screamed for help, but the car had fallen far off the road due to the accident. We see that there's a river not too far from the car. It was night by then, but no one came to help. Her leg was still stuck, and as the night grew darker, the cold increased, making her condition worse. She looked around and found a piece of cloth in the car, which she wrapped around herself. She also turned on the car's heater to keep warm, but the cold wasn't her only problem. She was stuck in a forest area. Suddenly, she realized wild animals were roaming nearby. So, she quickly turned off the car's headlights to avoid attracting them. Luckily, it worked and somehow she managed to survive the night. The next morning, when she woke up, some animals were still around. She looked in the mirror to see if any dangerous animal was close by, but thankfully there were only a few deer in sight. Then, suddenly, Christian appeared. He looked perfectly fine since he hadn't been badly hurt from falling out of the car. He came up to Mallory and started talking, showing no sympathy for her condition. Instead, He seemed happy to see her suffering, almost like a psychopath. Mallory begged, "Please at least give me some water and something to eat." But Christian mocked her. He sat down comfortably in front of her and started eating and drinking. Then he said, "If you answer some of my questions, I'll give you food." Mallory was extremely hungry and thirsty, so she agreed. He then shamelessly asked, "When and with whom did you get intimate for the first time?" Mallory hesitantly replied that she was 17 at the time. He told her to imagine that moment again, and Mallory unwillingly did so. Then he asked many other disgusting and inappropriate questions, which she answered just to get food. But after a while, he laughed and said, "You actually believed me? Sorry, your luck is just that bad. If you had listened to me, you wouldn't be dying like this." Then he told her, "I saw a cabin a little distance from here. It probably belongs to a family, but it's empty right now. You should be careful because I don't think you'll survive much longer." After saying this, he walked away. Mallory kept begging him not to leave her like that and to please help her, but he ignored her completely. Now comes the second night. It's dark and freezing all around. Her feet have gone numb, but this time she luckily finds a lighter in the car. She starts burning some papers and other things to get a bit of light and warmth. After that, she dozes off for a while due to exhaustion. But not much time passes before a rat comes and starts scratching her. She wakes up in a panic and sees that many rats have gathered around. She tries to chase them away in fear and even ends up killing one. At this point, she feels completely broken by the cold, hunger, and thirst. Then, after a while, she realizes that maybe the rats coming wasn't entirely bad. At least now she has something to eat. She's so hungry that she cooks one of the rats over the fire and eats it. It feels disgusting, but she knows she can't survive without food. After that, she rests for a while. The next morning, when she wakes up, she suddenly hears her phone ringing. The phone was a little far from her reach, but with great effort, she manages to grab it. Seeing the phone gives her a new sense of hope. Maybe she can be saved now. But just then, Christian returns. Mallory quickly hides the phone. Christian starts talking about that same cabin again, saying that the family living there has returned, but he has locked them inside, so they can't come out and reach her by mistake. He then says, "But now you don't need to worry. I've brought something to help you." But before he can continue, Mallory's phone starts ringing again. Hearing the sound, Christian snatches the phone from her. Mallory screams in desperation. This was her last hope, but he breaks the phone. Then he pulls a hammer out of his bag. Mallory panics, thinking he might kill her, but instead he takes out a blade and hands it to her. Scared, Mallory asks, "What are you going to do with this?" Christian replies, "I'm giving you this blade so you can cut your leg off and free yourself. This is your last chance. Otherwise, you'll die here." Mallory begins to cry and begs, "I can't do this. Please help me out. I won't tell anyone about you. If you want me to spend the night with you or whatever you want, I'm ready to do it." But Christian doesn't listen. He leaves the blade with her and walks away. Now Mallory picks up the blade and tries to cut the area where her leg is stuck, but she can't bring herself to do it and throws the blade away in frustration. Night falls again and she starts feeling extremely thirsty. It had been a long time since she last drank water. There was a river nearby, but she couldn't reach it. Luckily, after a while, it starts raining heavily. It feels like life has returned to her. She drinks the rainwater to her heart's content, which brings her some relief. Later, when she turns on the car radio, she hears that due to the rain and storm, the main roads are flooding and people are using the shortcut road instead. She realizes that someone might pass by her location now, so she begins screaming for help. After some time, a car approaches and stops, but to her horror, it's Christian's car. As soon as he steps out and starts walking towards her, Mallory quickly thinks of a plan. She pretends to be dead as if she bled to death while trying to cut her leg. Christian arrives with a torch and starts checking if she's still alive. At the right moment, Mallory attacks him with a knife. In the struggle, she manages to grab his car keys, locks the car door using the remote, turns on the car siren, and pretends to throw the keys away so that Christian too is stuck now. She hopes that people passing by will stop to check the stalled car, but Christian goes up to the road and turns off the car siren. Then, acting as if his car broke down because of the rain, he tries to appear innocent. Just then, a police officer arrives in his vehicle. Christian says, "My car broke down. Can you drop me off at the nearby cabin?" But when Mallory sees the police car, she starts shouting for help. She begins banging the car with a stone to make enough noise for the officer to hear. The police officer hears a faint sound and starts looking toward the ditch, but the sound of heavy rain makes it difficult to locate. At the same time, Christian tries to convince the officer. The storm is getting worse. We should leave quickly. After this, Christian goes away with the police officer and Mallory continues screaming. But now, no one is left to hear her cries. Meanwhile, the heavy rain continues and the rising flood water begins pushing the car toward the nearby river. Within moments, water starts filling the car rapidly. Mallory realizes that if she doesn't act soon, she won't survive. Summoning all her remaining courage, she picks up the blade again. With no other option left, she attempts to cut her trapped leg. She manages to make a small cut. But before she can do more, the car is swept away and plunges into the river. As it hits the water, the pressure helps sever her leg completely. Fighting through unimaginable pain, she escapes from the sinking car and with great difficulty swims to the shore. Exhausted, bleeding, and weak, she knows she needs medical help immediately. But instead of collapsing, she grabs a nearby stick to use as support and begins moving. Not far from there is the cabin Christian had mentioned earlier. She sets off in search of it, dragging herself through the mud and rain. Eventually, she spots the cabin, but just as she nears it, she hears a girl's voice crying out for help. Mallory realizes that Christian must have taken a family captive. She approaches the cabin cautiously. As she moves forward, the stick she's using gets caught in a bear trap, but fortunately, she escapes without injury and presses on. She knew she had to be careful. Christian would certainly be nearby. Peering through a window, she sees a young girl tied up and screaming. Rescuing her immediately might alert Christian, so Mallory moves on and checks another room. There, to her horror, she sees Christian brutally beating the police officer. Quietly, she sneaks further inside and discovers that Christian has murdered the entire family except the girl. Mallory finds the officer's gun and grabs it. She creeps back to the room where the girl is tied up and starts freeing her. Meanwhile, Christian, now wearing the police uniform, calls out. Mallory hides behind the door. When Christian enters, Mallory jumps out and points the gun at him. But before she can fire, Christian lunges at her. A violent struggle breaks out. The girl joins in, attacking Christian to protect Mallory. Mallory yells for her to run. And after a fierce fight, she manages to escape his grip. But Christian isn't done. He gets up and starts searching the cabin for Mallory. She hides under a table, but he eventually finds her and tries to strangle her. Summoning all her strength, she manages to fight back, injuring him and escaping again. Christian, furious and desperate, goes outside to search. But Mallory takes advantage of the moment. She sneaks up behind him and knocks him off the balcony. He falls hard and in a twist of fate, his foot gets caught in the same bear trap. Christian screams in agony, trapped and helpless, just like Mallory had once been. Mallory comes down with the rescued girl, walks up to Christian, and coldly hands him his own knife. "Need help?" she asks. "Just like you gave me a blade. I'm returning your knife. Cut your leg off. That's your last option. Otherwise, you won't survive." Christian is overwhelmed with pain. Everything he had done had led to this. Then Mallory speaks with finality. "Maybe you were right. Our meeting and this ending was all fate. And look at your luck now. Regrettable, isn't it?" With that, she leaves him there to suffer the consequences of his own cruelty and walks away with the girl into the rainy night. And that's where the story ends.